What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Comics Grind. I'm one of your hosts, Nico Rodriguez.
And I'm Ken, aka Comic Ken on YouTube.
And thank you so much for joining us once again for another weekly comics discussion. Once again, we are super excited because we have another guest. Now, our next guest we actually met, through Instagram. Just kind of maybe a couple years back. I just kind of found him, or he found me on Instagram. I don't remember what happened. We'll talk about our first interactions online and everything, but. So for those of you who say that social media is not good for anything, it is, because they're actually you can actually meet friends and meet some cool people online. But so he is writer, artist, cartoonist, letterer, designer, everything under the sun. He's most well known for his recent Kickstarter for Cannonball, which is like a slice of life genre mashup book. His name is Brandon PILLIS. What's going on, man? How are you doing, Brandon?
How you doing, Nico? Pretty good. Hi, Ken.
What's up?
Thank you so much for joining us, man. You're located where do you live exactly?
I'm in the Twin Cities. I live in Minneapolis. I live in South Minneapolis, right along the Mississippi River. I'm about 3 blocks from there. Been here for 20 years. Moved here from New Jersey
Nice.
to
Okay.
marry my wife.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. The how's like the comic scene over there?
It's huge in Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities.
Really?
We have an artist get-together, a creator get-together bi-monthly, and I just started doing it this past winter. And the last one we had probably had about 45 people. And there's a lot of well-known people, graphic novel illustrators, up-and-comers, newbies. It's fantastic, and everybody is extremely supportive of each other. We have it's a very big design and art scene here in the Twin Cities, and everything seems to be geared towards some kind of art form, whether music or comics or illustration, painting. I can throw a rock, and whoever I hit does something creative and interesting in the city. It is such a wealth of creativity. I guess that's why advertising was centered here for so long. There's a big advertising center here too. So I love it. I love this community. I've loved it since I moved here and have never wanted to go back to New Jersey. So,
Dude, that is quite
Awesome.
the sales pitch for Ken and I, because over here in Houston, we've got a very small kind of network of comics creators. I'm getting to know a little bit more of those individuals out there, but man, hearing about like monthly meetups that are like 40 people deep. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
dang.
sometimes there's 6, but that's like in the winter, and the winters here are like minus 40. So nobody's going to go out in that. But like, like I said, the last one was, probably about 45 people by the time I left. Yeah, it's fantastic. The people are so supportive of each other. It's amazing.
So did you realize that before you moved down there, or was it kind of a thing that you're like, oh wow, once you discovered it?
I knew, so when I moved here, I was big into film. I work as a carpenter by day, but I was big into film. I made a few short films right before I moved here. I knew there was a big art scene, a big film scene. I did not get back into comics right away when I moved here. It was probably about 10 years after I moved here that I got back into comics and decided to start drawing. So I did not know it was like this when I got like how big it is, because I grew up right outside New York City, and in New York City is so big and everything. It's such a huge community. You know nobody. You come to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, it's a big city with a small town feel. Everybody knows somebody. Everybody's got like 3 degrees of separation of each other, and it's fantastic.
Wow,
Nice,
man. Yeah, definitely, because we need to kind of get into like the weekly grind and everything. But like one more thing, do y'all have like a what's the biggest con there in Minneapolis? Do you guys have like a staple one that's kind of
There was there was one that was big for the locals. It was called FallCon, and it was held at the fairgrounds, and it was big, and it was like $50 a table for artists, and it was huge, and it was a lot of fun for everybody in the area. And then something happened. The person who ran it passed away, and COVID hit, and they couldn't do it, and they lost the fairground space. And they're just starting it back up now, but two others have swooped in, Twin Cities Con and Minnesota Con. Twin Cities Con is now going to be in its third year. Last year was huge for it. Minnesota Con, this was the first year. It just happened in June. I was not there. I heard it was a little slow, but it was happening at the same time as one that was fairly close in Iowa. Even though Iowa's the next state over, it's actually, it's only about 6 hours. So that's fairly close for conventions. So it didn't do as well as the other one, but yeah, we have like 2 or 3 competing ones that are coming in, and FallCon returns next year in its big space, and it's going to be this year, but it's in a smaller space. But next year it's going to be in a bigger space, more artists. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's the general idea of what happens here.
That's cool, man. Kind of makes me want to visit now. I want to check out some of that.
You're welcome to come. I'd love to show you around,
dude. It'd be fantastic. But yeah. So weekly grind, guys. What do we got going on this week? Ken, comics wise, creating anything nice, writing anything good, drawing anything good?
I don't know. I've spent the last couple of days being really jealous of this guy named Manny Owe on Instagram. Just looking at his stuff, I was just like, man, I'm not there yet. But the last couple things I've been doing is just like a little sketch here of Air Rider. I'm just like
nice
drawing out his proportions. I started this drawing right here without like figuring out the rest of the body, so I drew the head and then everything else fucked up. And then the second sketch, I actually did it with the correct proportions, so that came out better. I started with the construction first before like getting into it. What I'm working on and for the week is just been finishing my color assignment and marketing, pretty much just like building the structure for what I'm going to be doing going forward in terms of getting my name out there, getting an audience and all that stuff.
Nice. That's cool, man. You got some good a good balance there. You got some drawing done, got some marketing, some future planning done. That's good stuff. How about you, Brandon? You got do anything this week comics wise?
Yeah, I am working on my next book called Auto Lies. It's a continuation of the Cannonball stories. And I'm working on it, and I just finished penciling a page. Just started another page that I'm doing a 2-page spread. That's a lot of fun to do for me because I get to start entering into action in the story. I inked the page and started to lay some colors down on another page. So I have a tendency to move kind of all over the place. I try to pencil when I can because that has to be in the studio, but when I ink, I do it digitally, and when I color, I do it digitally. So kind of like the late night hours or the wee hours in the mornings when I ink and I color. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
Nice. Yeah, well, I want to get here in a little bit. We'll get more into like your process because I know you have a family and everything. So like in terms of balancing, do you kind of have like a more regimented schedule, or you kind of just whenever you can? So we'll get to that here in a second. But as far as stuff that I've done, basically just working on the graphic novel, man. Penciled a good amount of pages. This is the stack that I've got. So I'm doing everything on 9x12 paper, Bristol board. So this is a good 20 to 30 pages.
Nice.
Got some thumbnailing done. So my thumbnails, I don't know if you can really see it on there, but I do my thumbnails on sticky notes because I think I've mentioned it in the show before. The biggest reason for sticky notes is because I can have a sticky note pad at my day job right by my keyboard. And whenever I have about, a 5-10 minute break, I'll pull those things out, start thinking of composition, start, sketching really, really, really rough, loose sketches. But honestly, like they help me out a ton. It's like my treasure map for whenever I get home. And then I use that stuff to kind of get into the actual pages. But
Nice.
yeah, just plugging away. I think as of this week, I penciled page, I think 114 out of 120. So I'm freaking
Awesome.
going.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying. I've been probably spending way too much time and just kind of going full throttle right now, but like it's like I see the end on like the first phase, which is the pencil and inking phase. I still need to paint a whole bunch, which that's going to be a whole nother beast in itself. But once I get that 120th page inked, I'll be like, all right, I'm almost there. I kind of almost there.
Right.
You're so close.
I know, man. I'm so close. It's like I kind of want to put in like 2 weeks of PTO and just like knock it all out, But like I'm like, well, maybe I should like save that for an actual real vacation,
Right.
instead of a work vacation. But yeah, it's fun stuff, guys. Fun stuff. Takes a hell of a long time, right?
It does. Longer than you think.
How long did Cannonball take you in all, Brandon?
Cannonball was weird because it's a series of shorts. So it was more like I would work on it and then put it out online and, try to market it and put it in. I don't think I intended until halfway through to do it as a full book because I have other episodes, is what I call it, on my website that I did in between. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the shorts altogether took me about a year, like all 4 shorts, so all 20 pages. But that's also doing other pages in between, other writing and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I can't really say how long total it would take, but I know doing a full book now, working on a full book, it'll take me about 6 months to write, pencil, ink, and color and letter the whole book. So
A book of how
that's
many
me
pages?
working at just like 24 pages.
Right.
So that's about a page a week. So that's about a panel a night. So that's me working a couple hours every night.
Yeah,
Nice.
that makes sense. I love breaking it down like that because it.
Oh yeah.
No matter what, like as long as you're progressing like a panel a night or even just like, a thumbnail a night, like you're getting there.
Always do something. Yes.
Yeah.
Every little line, every little thing, it moves you forward.
Right.
It's funny. I laid out my timeline based on my average panels a page. And I think I did a post about this. I average about 4.5, on average, 4.5 panels a page. So I was like, okay, if I do at least a panel a night, I'm going to be more than safe. And the next freaking page I set up is 10 freaking panels. The page after that is 6 panels. The page before it was 6 panels. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm on 22 panels for 3 pages. When that should have been 13 panels. So I'm already like falling behind. But it's just funny. Like the moment I set myself up that standard, all of a sudden I'm just like, I have to do a 10-panel page.
Right.
Yeah, dude, it's unpredictable, man. Especially like all 3 of us, we're writer artists, so we're dreaming up the stuff, we're drawing the stuff. So like sometimes you need to have that many panels,
Oh yeah. What do you guys average? Like do you know what you average on panels on page?
Let me see.
So for me, I don't have an exact average, but I think 5 to 6 is probably has been my sweet spot, especially for the graphic novel, because since I'm drawing in a smaller area, in a 9x12 Bristol board, it's kind of hard for me to divvy that up to like 9 panels every single time. I have a few, I have a handful of 9-page panels, but I feel like there are some people who just like litter those things with panels, those pages, but I feel like my storytelling sensibility, especially for the graphic novel, I kind of compartmentalize it in thirds,
Yeah. Okay.
For the most part, I'm a third, and third guy, and then I kind of I break the rule here and there when I need to, just to kind of make it interesting. But usually that 5 to 6 panel is kind of my sweet spot.
Yeah.
What about you, Ken?
I would say I go from like 5 to 8, and that's like
Okay.
um that's like I'll have like 9 panel pages sometimes, or even 10 if like the story requires it. But that's just because like I don't have a writer or like a industry standard to keep. I'm just like, okay, I can do this if I want, because I'm the one writing it, I'm the one imagining it. So it's like I decide if it should have uh 10 or even 11 panels on a page. But
Yeah.
I tend to keep it around like 5 to 8 for the most part.
Can I ask you guys, if I'm getting off topic,
No, you're good.
do you have an influence on how your composition lays out, how your panels lay out? Like me, for instance, I've been recently delving into the older manga of Lone Wolf and Cub and Lady Snowblood, and I've been noticing the way, you read a book like that, you're going to see like 25 pages of a fight scene. But they do things like progression so well. The artists, Koike specifically, where you have like 3 panels of a samurai coming out of the fog, and it'll be just like faint, a little bit clearer, and then very clear, and I find myself being influenced heavier in the pages that I'm doing now. The book that I'm working on now, I'm heavily influenced by Lady Snowblood and Lone Wolf and Cub and that 1970s manga way of telling a story, which is probably why it's going to take me 3 books to tell the story, as opposed to, I mean, my initial idea for it was going to be a 1-page story, and it became now 3 books because
Wow.
of this influence. Yeah. It's
So it's like
so I'm just
super
curious of what.
decompressed.
Yeah. Like I just found myself expanding the story, but also expanding. I had so many ideas for these panels and these images and these pages, and it's so influenced by these stories that I just find myself doing it now. That's why I'm curious of what you guys who you might be heavily influenced by right now, specifically right now.
Yeah, I think so for me, the underlying influence is always Usagi Yojimbo, Stan Sakai, and I think that
God,
that's
yeah.
I think that that's where I get the thirds, third storytelling
And your
going.
style is so wow. Yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah. So like, I love the cartoony stuff, but I also like the stuff that's like Jim Mahfood, that's kind of like weirder, kind of crazier out there. So that's why like in this graphic novel, I've made it a point to like, okay, like my set standard and basis is like, the typical 3-3-3, but I'm trying to like break out of the panels a lot, like say if like somebody's punching somebody, I'm going to try to like maybe break out of that panel
Yes.
1 to 2 and put that arm over the border. But like at the most essential like basis is Stan Sakai, just because I freaking it's my favorite comic of all time. And it's the giant Usagi Yojimbo omnibuses are like my comic book textbooks. It's like my study material. So yeah, I think that's especially in this book too. Obviously probably going to expand even more, as I kind of get more and more influence. But and I'm sure there's such a grab bag of influences going into this thing, because it's 120 pages long. So
Yeah.
I've got a ton of influences in there, I'm sure. But yeah. Ken,
What about you, Ken?
I always, at the core of pretty much every story that I do is the storytelling of like Daredevil by Frank Miller. And
nice.
And the work that he did on The Dark Knight.
Nice.
Because I always felt like, because he's also a writer artist, he has just such a handle on telling the story he wants to tell without worrying so much about the conventions of comics as a whole, like where most comics are like split between a writer and an artist, and so like the artist is kind of limited in what they can tell on one page, whereas Frank Miller is like, he goes all out with each page, and he's trying all different kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I'm always keeping that at like the center of my mind, where I'm thinking like, okay, I don't have to basically adhere to convention. I can kind of do what I want with the page, and yeah, that's pretty much what's at the core of how I tell the story. But the style is a different thing. I usually go for like a more cartoonish style, but the storytelling, how the information is conveyed at the core, it's always like Daredevil by Frank Miller.
Okay,
Nice.
that's really good influence there.
Yeah, for sure.
Ken, have you ever seen Dan Price's stuff, Bigfoot Knows Karate? He's heavily influenced by
No.
Frank Miller also. So if you get to check him out on Instagram, Nico, I think you follow him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, his stuff. He's got it's pretty cool, and he's got he is also heavily influenced by Frank Miller, specifically Daredevil and Dark Knight. So if you get a
Nice.
chance, check him out. You might find a what do you call that? Matching souls, whatever you call that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
You said Dan Price?
yeah, Dan Price, Bigfoot Knows Karate.
Bigfoot Knows Karate. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
check that out.
Brandon, speaking of inspirations and stuff, so what I've noticed in your work, especially in Cannonball, reading through it, I read through it again last night. Like you love to use those extreme angles. What's kind of that impetus behind it? I mean, is that something you're kind of you're just drawn to, or are you kind of picking that up from some other influences and stuff? I mean, I know that like Rob Guillory and stuff are kind of some of your guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Rob Guillory. I love what he does with expanding the world behind him, because he said he was notoriously bad at drawing backgrounds, and he would expand the world by adding all this stuff behind him, which I absolutely love. And you'll see that in some of my work with writing on the books and pictures in the background and stuff like that. But the angles actually specifically comes from when I was learning on the first story I ever drew, which I never released. As I was doing this project, I would listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of the podcasts was you might be familiar with it, iFanboy, and they're pretty good at listening. Their critiques are they're pretty good at critiquing, where they'll say something is really good even though it's not for them. And that's what I like about listening to them. And one of them said that they don't look at indie comics too often because they don't have the time, because they read like 40 books a week. And they just wish that indie creators would do more than medium shots. And I was like, oh my God, I'm looking at the pages that I did, and I had like all medium shots. And I'm like, well, how can I make it more dynamic? And I swear to God, that's the only reason, because I'm like, here's these guys' opinion. I'm like, oh, I should change it up. And then I found out that I really liked it. I really like doing extreme angles. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start. I started designing panels that way. And I started designing panels less left to right and more front to back. And I realized I was creating more depth and more dynamism. Dynamism, is that a word?
Yes.
In the page, making it more interesting for just me to look at. I was doing it for me.
Right.
And that was the impetus for it. And I just found that I loved it. And besides, when you draw like a whole page, and you have a hand like this, and you draw the hand, that's now taking up 1/3 of the panel.
It's true.
So now, which is like, 1/3 of the page, 1/3 of the panel. Now I only have to worry about the other 2/3, but you're seeing this hand that's in this really cool position. So it's it also, I should say that I have a photography background.
Okay.
And that was another thing I did in photography a long time ago, before digital cameras were just coming out. I did black and white film. And I loved using wide angles, and I would make sure I got something in the front, and it was always a tension between front and back. And that's the other thing. So I guess I always had a background in it, but whenever I started drawing, it was because I was heavily influenced by just this one thing somebody said. And I said, let me try it. And that's it.
Yeah. So with that said, are you using like a lot of photo reference for some of those, like you said, like the hand things and those extreme kind of close-ups?
No, I don't actually. I
Okay.
just draw them.
Huh.
So I don't know if you looked in Cannonball. I think it's page 2. There's a shot of a character reaching into a fridge.
Yeah, and you can see like the eggs in the
The
foreground.
eggs and the. So what I did was I drew that.
I don't know if we can.
You can see it right here. You can see it.
Nice.
And I drew that in different
Oh,
layers.
cool.
I drew the hand, I drew the person
Yeah.
behind it, and I drew the eggs, and I drew this what I call a salsa jar, which is
Yeah.
actually my fridge. So, and I layered it all together using a whiteboard. But it would take me like 4 or 5 passes. Whenever I do an extreme angle, it takes me like 4 or 5 renders to get it looking like something. And
Yeah.
if I showed you the original, it's just like squiggly lines,
Mhm.
lines, and I just work it out. And that's
Yeah.
a technique I learned from following Becky Cloonan on Twitter.
So
She talked about doing that.
so you said you're penciling traditionally, and then you're
Hmm.
scanning that in, and then
Yeah.
inking on the iPad, or you have a
Yep.
Cintiq or the iPad?
I used to ink. So most of Cannonball, almost all of Cannonball's inked um, traditionally.
Okay.
I just got an iPad last summer, and I use the iPad to clean it up. Nowadays, I actually use my iPhone on the Notes app. I use that to scan it in and makes a PDF in a very clear one. I bring that into Photoshop. I expand it to 11 by 17 on a canvas, and then I ink digitally like that. And I found it to be extremely accessible and fast workflow for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I like when I scan in, I have an 11 by 17 scanner, and
Mhm.
it adds like another step. But like I've tried. What app do you use for your
It's
scanning?
just a Notes app. It's a Notes
Just
app
the
on an
Notes app?
iPhone.
Huh.
It's a
Okay.
Notes app, and
Hmm.
you go in the camera, and it'll say scan document, and you just hold it up, and it takes it automatically, makes it a PDF. I send it to my Dropbox, and then on my iPad, I use an Adobe Acrobat, and I make a JPEG from there, and then I bring the JPEG because Photoshop on the iPad does
Yeah.
not read PDFs, but it'll read a JPEG, and that's all I need. And it's a very, very clear JPEG. And
Nice.
I just expand it to 11 by 17 on the I do a canvas first, and I bring it in as a layer. I expand it, and then I put another layer on top, and I ink that.
Right. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I've done that a lot in Procreate.
Yeah,
I have Photoshop too, but for some reason, like Procreate just kind of just makes everything so simple for me. It's like like I just bring it in there, and it just feels like I have a piece of paper and an ink pen. So that's
I
what
know.
I've been using a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people love Procreate. I've never tried it. I've just my wife's got like 40. Well, I'm not gonna say 40. That's too old. 30 years experience in Photoshop. So I have an expert on hand whenever I get stuck on something, and so that's why I use Photoshop.
Nice.
Nice, gotcha. So yeah, kind of you mentioning your wife there. So you got a family, man. You
Mhm.
have just one daughter, correct?
One daughter.
Yeah. In a puppy or
Yes.
yeah. So how are you kind of balancing your workflow and everything? Are you kind
Right.
of dedicating some nights to drawing, other nights with just the family? How does
It
that
it
work for you?
it pretty much goes. Yeah, I get like 2 hours to pencil at night at the studio board, and I get some time on the weekend. But I don't sit at the board the whole weekend. I try to spend one day, with the family or doing stuff around the house on the weekends. My daughter and I get to hang out at night. She likes to play around. But she does her own thing too. She's at 10 years old now, so she likes a little bit of independence also. And she and my wife like to read together at night, so
Hmm.
that gives me time to draw.
Yeah.
And my wife, who works and she's going to school to get her master's, so she's doing that also. And then she likes to spend time with my daughter at night too. So it's we got a balance sort of.
Nice.
It's
So
fluid.
you have like
Nice.
a typical day job during the day as well?
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
carpenter.
gotcha. Yeah, so it's what 8 to 5. You get home, take your nap, and
Yep.
then and then try to get to some work. Nah, I feel
Yeah.
that, man.
No, I usually start penciling anywhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. I try to sit down at the boards. It doesn't always come right away, but sometimes I can go to 10:30. Sometimes I can go to 11:30. Lately, it's just been to like 10, and then I start turning off lights. My wife goes to bed early, and my daughter should start settling down too. And then I just start inking on an iPad, and I try to get ink. So every night I try to get like one panel penciled and penciled onto the board, and one panel, like I'll do it on just printer paper, my squiggly line things to get like the next panel laid out. And then the next day I'll draw that out and put that on the board and squiggle out another panel. And that's how I try to work. It's
Nice.
you squeeze what you can when you can. But I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. This is like my recreational time. I love doing it.
Yeah.
And if you love doing it, it doesn't get old.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. Is like, so you work as a carpenter, and you also do comics on the side. But would you ever want to make the move to like full-time comics, or
Absolutely.
are you really happy with the carpenter position?
As you guys know, indie comics don't pay well. So
right.
Yes, we know.
So I do have to do carpentry, and carpentry pays well, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and I'm a pretty good carpenter.
Wow.
It's fine. I never wanted to stay in it, but I ended up, you end up just doing something that you do well.
Right.
I'd like to eventually transition to part-time. Like if I could, I'd love to do like 3 days a week carpentry and then the rest drawing. But then I would have to be putting out like 5 to 6 books a year if I could do that, and to be where I am at, on a financial level. That's what I would have to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of like expanding off of that, the Kickstarter and everything. So you ran a Kickstarter successfully. Yes. Congratulations on that, man. That's freaking awesome. And you have plans to do more and more and more, because I saw one of your emails that you sent out, and it was almost kind of like you're making this like your Kickstarter page almost like a pseudo kind of like publishing house. It kind of seemed, because you were like, here's my year plan or your 2-year plan or whatever you had.
I got a 5-year plan.
5-year plan. Was that what it was?
I didn't put that all, but I have a 5-year plan.
Okay,
I do.
You got the 5-year plan, and I love that. So like, I guess why are you going with like the Kickstarter route as opposed to like, making the book and selling it off of a website, or running a Patreon for it where you're getting, do you have kind of any like what is the thought process behind that, or was it just kind of the thing you settled on?
It was kind of just a thing I settled on. I feel like Patreon is something where people give you money each month, and you're like, okay, I have to now produce for them every month. And maybe I could do that, but that feels really stressful. Like I don't want to feel like I'm letting people down. So with a Kickstarter, I'm doing this. If you support me at whatever level, you'll get this, whether it's the book and stickers and sketches and, all sorts of cool stuff. And I feel like it makes me feel better. And I feel like I feel like I'm in a more comfortable place doing it via Kickstarter. It's like, I'm doing this product. Now I'm finished with the product. You get the product. We're done. That's it. Come support me on the next one. If you have one, I'm going to come check you out and try to support you too, and it's also a community too. There's a lot of people on Kickstarter, and everybody seems to support each other. And it's a fantastic thing in indie comics to be around so many people who support each other. I love it. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. With that said, like, so you're talking about stress, and that's kind of one of the things that I've been worried about, and I'm sure Ken has been worried about. I'm sure everybody who hasn't done a Kickstarter is worried about, is the stress of like, that 30-day stretch of trying to get your goal. And then if you get that, like the fulfillment process getting all your backers what they ordered and your sketches, if you have those kind of goals in there. So how was that? How was managing that process? Because honestly, like from the outsider looking in who hasn't done one, I'm always kind of like thinking about that, like, damn, like, I'm not a supply chain expert. I'm not,
Yeah. Right.
shipping expert and stuff like that. How
I,
was that whole process for you?
two things. Give yourself enough runway. Give yourself enough runway at the completion. I thought I gave myself enough runway, and I was like a month back on what I thought it was going to be for like the finished. Like I'm done giving out. Like everybody got their books, so I'm like a month behind my last day.
So did you have the full book done before you
Oh yeah,
ran it? Okay.
yeah. I had the full book done. My next one, right now I'm on pace to be done, but if I'm not, it might be like 6 pages left to color by the time I start the Kickstarter. Personally, I want to be done with the book and actually have it printed and have a few sitting here is what I want. That would be my goal, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But my last one, I ordered stickers. Let's see, I launched it in February, but I had stickers coming in November, stickers coming in December, more stickers coming in January before I ordered. So I had 3 different types of stickers coming. I even ordered more after the fact. I had a small run sent out of the book sent to me in December, even though I was kickstarting in February, just so I can see what it looks like. I can give it to a few people that I'm really close with, and I can do a test run at my local comic shop where I brought a few of the books, brought it to the comic shop. They put it on the shelf with all the new releases, and they sold. And that gave me so, and I did that a week before I launched my Kickstarter, and that gave me so much confidence going in. I can't even tell you. It was big, and I have a good relationship with my local comic shop, and they were very supportive, and I think that also helped. So if you have that kind of connection, I recommend using that. Yeah, those are the 2 things. Give yourself enough runway and try to get as much as you can done beforehand, and you'll feel comfortable.
So in terms of stress level, you weren't like, oh man, like, grasping straws and trying to get everything sent out. Like you're pretty organized in terms of like getting everything.
I was really laid back about it.
Okay.
I was really laid back about it. I tried to keep the communication open. I would send out updates like, hey, I got this many going out, and I would send pictures like, I got 10 in a box right now. And that's the other thing. It's really hard to go to a post office with like 40 boxes because the people behind you are going to get really upset. So I would do it at like 5 to 10 at a time. And that worked out well. But also I realized I was behind on sketch cards when I did it. And I was like, oh, I got to do sketch cards for people. And I had like 2 homages that I still had to finish up, and I redid one of them. It was that kind of stuff. Like, I'm going to be more prepared next time. But the first time you battle through it, and you just ask people for forgiveness and be open about where you are in a fulfillment. But I mean, there's people, I've supported Kickstarters where that's 2 to 3 years out and I still haven't gotten anything, but it's just keep the line of communication open.
Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to ask, like, did you do a lot of advertisement or like marketing before the Kickstarter, and how long before your Kickstarter did you start talking or getting the ball rolling about it?
I mentioned it the summer before, but I was initially going to do an October Kickstarter, and then September was rolling around. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. And I did a lot of social media stuff. I would also do those ad boost buys on Instagram, which really didn't help me. It helped me for my website. Whenever I put out a short story, I would get a lot of hits via that. But when it came to the Kickstarter, if somebody has to actually like participate and not just click on a website, you're not going to really get much return for your investment on that. So I stopped doing that early on. I tried it, I would do $18 to $30 a pop at a time for those ad boosts where they put your post up. And I did end up with like 2 or 3 people, which is not nothing, following me because of that. But yeah, I mean, start early. So to get your page, like I just did my pre-launch page for my next one. That's up and running. I haven't really boosted it too much yet. Like put it out there. I put it out once or twice, and I'm what 6 months out, 5 months out.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, start it as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Start the pre-launch page, get the page set up, get yourself confirmed by a Kickstarter, get it all started right away. Give yourself a lot of runway going in and a lot of runway coming out. You're going to be about a year into this for one project.
Nice.
You can start other stuff in the meantime.
Right. Wait, how many pages was this current book?
This one was the one that I just released was 20 pages.
20 pages. Oh, okay.
The next one's going to be 24.
Nice.
Right. So it didn't have to be like a big like stack. It just could be like a simple.
I like to do I want to do smaller books. This is why like my next story is going to be in 3 parts. I want to do smaller books because I want to keep the price low, to keep the point of entry for people easy. Money, it can be a deterrent for people. Like if you're putting out a big book and it's, you know, $25, that can be a deterrent for some people. That's why I decided to do my next one in 3 books, 24 pages, because I can do, you know, $7 for a physical copy, you know, and that'll be me breaking even and doing fine. And I'm happy with that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's one of the constant conundrums that I have in terms of doing a collected work or you know, separating that thing up into, because like technically like for example, like my graphic novel, it's 120 pages, could be about 5 to 6 chapters, and it's just kind of something that, but you know, I'm considering myself in, you know, as the buyer, and like just what I've picked up, you know, going to shows and things like that, I constantly see that the highest selling things are issue 1 and the collected book.
Yep.
You know, so it's like I'm trying to take that mentality in terms of my book, but you know, you saying it like that, you know, you're splitting it up into sections because, you know, you want to keep your cost of entry low to people, you know.
Yeah.
Not everybody might want to spend $30 on a book.
But let me point out though that like my first book for Autolize that's coming out in October, I have no doubt will do well, but I wonder what's going to happen on the second book or the third book. So I'm trying to make plans and adjust accordingly for a slump in the second book and see what I can do to, what can I do to make sure it doesn't fall off. Well, one thing, I have to make sure the first book is good. And then the second book, when it comes around, I have to come up with different alternative ideas, and maybe a variant cover from a well-known artist might help. Or another idea I have is approaching a musician about working together on a comic EP, or, you know, EP combo, where the did I say it right? EP, the small collection.
EP.
Yeah. You know, and doing something like that where it's like, you know, the story and the album together or something like that. Like I'm trying to figure out, I'm already working on book 2, how to market it and make it something a little bit more special than book 1.
Nice.
Yeah, and there's also that factor of, you know, when you're splitting it up into sections, you're getting consistent advertisement, you know, over time. As opposed to like whenever you do that, you know, if you do that one collected book.
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Okay, no. Good now?
Yeah.
Sweet. No, I was just saying, you know, when you have it in floppies or single issues, you've got like consistent marketing material because you're, you know, next month issue 1 comes out, in 3 months issue 2 comes out, and you know, in 3 months after that issue 3 comes out. As opposed to if you're having a full collected work, it's everything up front, kind of like that binge model, which I'm scared about. But it's for me, it's been back and forth because, you know, I went to Heroes Con and, you know, kind of talked to some creators and stuff about it, and Kyle Starks, he's a very big advocate of the trade, you know, the full collected book, because
Yeah.
like that is you pitch your book, that is everything in there, whether, you know, you're pitching it to a publisher or a publisher sees it, or you're pitching it to a, you know, a client, a customer, you know, you've got your full project there. You make your highest margins, obviously, on a full book. But like I keep going back and forth, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, here's the thing, Nico. What are you looking for? What is your goal? Because my goal specifically is to, I just want to put my book in front of as many people as I can.
Mhm.
And that's my goal. And that means I'm going to be doing it in smaller increments just so people are more willing to look at it. So when I go to a convention, I also want to have, by next fall, hopefully be able to have 4 books to lay out on a table. Now you have this one big thing coming, and I think it's going to work for you. I don't think it would work for me in my story. I think it's going to work for you in your story, though.
Yeah.
I see your collection. I've seen your drawings in your collection. You have something to go to a publisher and say, I have this.
Mhm.
It's done. This is it. You know?
Right.
And if they decide to break it up, they'll break it up. But like
Mhm.
you have this thing. So
Yeah.
is your intention to get it published by a publisher?
I mean, at this point, I don't know. It would be look. So I've worked with a couple middle-sized publishers.
Yeah.
I thought that these partnerships and these books that I did with them were going to be very positive for my career and like awesome. You know, I even like, you know, I've been in contractual things with them. You know, with me thinking like, oh, this is going to be a definite thing, and like this is going to help my career in a you know a very positive way. Those crashed and burned, both of those deals, not because of
Sorry.
anything I did, but because of having the stock in these companies. So now my approach is I make the book, I make it. If they want it, they come to me and say, hey, this thing is awesome, we want to publish it or whatever. So that's basically my mentality with this book is like I'm making it. The best way for me to tell my story in this is through a collected, you know, a graphic novel approach, because it's more of like, you know, it's like it's a movie, you know, it's a you know, consecutive story with it, you know, a handful of main characters that you're kind of going through their lives. And just by, you know, me just like doing my thumbnails, it just feels so much better doing it as like this one big thing rather than like, you know, always thinking about sectioning it up.
Yeah.
So like, you know, to answer your question, you know, if the publisher sees it and wants it, then yeah, of course I'm all ears, but I'm not making it specifically for that. And you know, and I'm looking at guys like I mentioned before, like the Kyle Starks,
Yeah.
you know, with Sex Castle. He did Sex Castle, full graphic novel, uh kickstarted it, funded it completely. You know, Matt Fraction sees his book at a convention, loves the book, and then it's history from there. You know, so it's like he made that book for himself first, and then everything came out afterwards. So we'll see, but yeah, still, but I'm still go back and forth.
No,
on
and
this
I do
idea.
too. I totally do too. I mean, I might bomb on the second book. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna bomb on the first one, but I think I might bomb. I mean, there's a chance I can bomb on the second book.
Mhm.
Might have been better for me to go. I mean, you shoot your shot, right? So
Right.
it's
Actually,
go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry.
oh, I wanted to ask something on that note. I was like, what was your, I guess, like financially, what was your takeaway from this, from the Kickstarter? Was it like a break even type situation? And then what kind of items did you sell alongside the book? Like the add-ons and that kind of stuff.
I did like a escalating tiers. So like the first one was a digital download. Second one was physical and a digital. Third one was two vinyl stickers, physical and a digital. Third one was our fourth one was, you know, digital, physical stickers, and a sketch card, a 5x7 sketch card.
Okay.
And then I went up to another level where there was only 3 available for an homage. I did an homage of Jaws, I did an homage of the Blondie album, and I did a Star Wars homage. Those were 8x10s, plus they got a sketch card and everything before it. And then after that was I had 3 layers of people who can appear in my next book. They're going to be killed off in my next book.
Oh.
And because I already had the book planned. So I did that. And those went right away. All from people I know who were very excited to be killed off in my book. And I'm excited to kill them off. And now they're going to be characters in my book. And then the top tier was Adopt a Page. Since I did pencil and ink all the pages, I had 3 of those. And I still have to get those 3 pages to the people. But I'm still waiting for them to tell me which page they want. And I actually have to contact them this week and say, give me a choice of the 3 that you want, and I'll make sure you get one of those 3. It's a way for me to sell a page. They get to own an original artwork, and a lot of people like collecting that. And who knows? Maybe someday it'll be worth something. Maybe someday it won't. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
I love those original art options, because like I feel like, you know, it's not okay, it is labor for you, but it's at least you don't like, it's not cost prohibitive for you, you know, other than like, you know, your piece of paper and your ink or whatever. But it's like, you know, it's a good way to kind of, you know, make the campaign go just a little bit further, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I tried to make an entry point for anybody who wanted to spend. So it was like $5, $10, $15, $25, $40, $75, and $120. So obviously the 120 is going to be highest, and all 3 of those pages sold. And I only had, it was my first book, so I set the minimum of my goal for $500. So
Right.
you know, I knew I was going to be able to make that. I did not expect to do 400 and something percent. I was very excited about that. So, but I knew if somebody bought pages, you know, 3 people bought, if all 3 pages sold, which I didn't think that would happen, but they did. I'm near my goal. I hit my goal in 4 hours. Like
Mhm.
all the main stuff went right away. All the big
Yeah.
stuff.
So
So-
did all the money go back into printing the book and putting out the add-ons, or
No.
were you able to
Well,
make a profit?
Oh, I made a profit. I mean, it's not huge, but I made a profit. I mean, made it worth my time, definitely.
Okay, nice.
But then I think about all the supplies, you know, you put out, and the stickers that I would order over the months, and putting out the books, and you know, but I'm still quite happy with it, with
Yeah.
what I did.
Nice.
It was satisfying. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, and now you have a product that I don't think, do you do a ton of shows, or
I've never done any yet.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
planning
so-
on either breaking out this fall or next year.
Fantastic.
If I can get my stuff in order, I'm trying for this fall. I want to have a nice, you know, extendo poster. Like Nico, you got one of those with you on the front like this with the drawing, right?
That's me.
You got yours. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to do, you know, I have to get one of those, and then the whole setup, the credit card thing. Like I don't have any of that setup. My thought right now
Yeah.
is just producing.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's a good way to go about it. I mean, but now you've got like that product. Did you use Comics Wellspring, right, for your
Yes.
prints? Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I use too for mine. But now, you know, you can reprint, you know, cover your print costs, but hey, all you got to do is hit that reprint button.
Yeah.
And now you've got that product. The other one thing I wanted to mention, because like your partnership with lesser known comics, right? So
Yes.
are they kind of like, because I see that like the logo and everything is on it. So are they like, talk a little bit about like, you know, how did you kind of get in touch with them? And like, what is like the relationship there? Do they have like access to print and sell your book, or like how's that going for you?
Well, first of all, the founder, Mark Bernal, he was the founder of Lesser Known Comics a couple of years ago. We started following each other on Instagram. Once again, social media contact.
Yeah.
I also had a short story that was put in Tales of the Dispatch. It was chosen for Tales of the Dispatch Volume 3. And he was one of the judges, and he posted about my short being, you know, dynamic, interesting perspectives, killer perspectives. And I thanked him and contacted him and thanked him for that. And we started talking. And he said, I wanted to work. He said, I want to work with you based on that one short. Do shorts. Do shorts. If you're starting out, do shorts. Get them out there. Put them online, whatever. Right. And so we talked back and forth. And then he supported my Kickstarter. As soon as I hit my funding goal, I said, hey, I contacted him and said, hey, you want to work together? And he said, sure, we can do the deal. You know, we talked the next day about doing the deal the day after my Kickstarter started. And I've been working with him, ever since. It's a great community. It's closer to a co-op, really. Everybody has a say in it. Everybody supports each other and backs each other. It's just it's a really good and thriving community of creatives. Such interesting and diverse talent, whether writing or art. My art has stepped up tenfold since joining with them, just because I feel like I have to keep up. And I keep pushing myself. So every page I do something that I've never done before, because I feel like I need to keep up with them. And it's not even a pressure. It's something that I enjoy. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for these guys to see guys, not just guys, you know, there's women there too. I shouldn't say just guys, people. I can't wait for these creatives to see this. Like, I'm really excited for them to check this out. I just, it's been really fantastic. Good. But Western Known Comics gets to put out my digital copy. They also get to can also sell my physical copy. I could put out my digital copy and sell my physical copy also. So they don't get a share of what I sell myself, but I get a share of whatever they sell. And it's a really good deal. It's a better deal than I would get with any of the other indie publishers. And Mark's really supportive. He does not push. He's a really good guy and a really smart business head on him too. So
yeah, that's fantastic, because when you pitch to like some of these other middle-sized quote unquote indie publishers, if they are that, whatever, there's none of that like community type stuff there. I can tell you that from firsthand, because just trying to get emails back from these guys take months. And it's extremely frustrating, because you have like your work held up with them, and it's like, you're kind of at gunpoint. You can't do much. But lesser known, that sounds like more of like a community building type of organization. So
Mark describes it. He describes it as like a cooperative, closely, like a co-op. It's we all have a say, and whenever something big comes along, he brings it to all of us, and we meet every 2 weeks via Google Meet, and it's a really good community. Just I'm just starting to make friends with a lot of the guys, a lot of the people there. So I'm really happy, and I'm starting. It's fun. It's fun.
I want to say those guys aren't they based out of Austin, Texas?
Some of them are.
Some of them are.
Dan Price, David Lujan, and Ray Garza, who does Tank McGregor. David Lujan does Yuriko and Narita, and Dan Price does Bigfoot Knows Karate. They're out of Austin. But then there's guys in California, guys in Virginia. I'm in Minnesota. There's another Minnesotan that's joining in. New York. We're kind of Toronto. We're all over the place. And,
that's cool, man.
And it's really cool.
That's awesome. Cool. Ken, man, you have any kind of last questions for Brandon here before we plug our locations and all?
I'm trying to think. I think we covered most of the bases for the Kickstarter stuff. I think Nico mentioned earlier that I have a Kickstarter coming out in March of next year, and I was wondering if you had anything I should look out for in terms of like pitfalls or traps.
Okay.
that I should look out for before I launch?
I'm trying to think. I mean, a video is good to have, but I'm not sure if it's so necessary. But yeah, maybe a video. I mean, I spent a lot of time on my video. I hand drew an animation,
Oh, nice.
and yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was
it
dope
didn't.
too.
Yeah,
liked it.
I loved it.
That was
I loved
awesome.
it, but
Yeah.
I don't think it made a lick of difference.
Oh,
So,
really?
and I'd like to do another one because it was so much fun, but
Right.
it's very time consuming. So, make a video, but just give people all the information that they need. Be open and out upfront with everybody in the description. Use lots of pictures and post about it a lot because not everybody's going to see it every day, and you want it to be there. And interact with people. Interact with people online. Talk to people about how good you like their art and how much you like their art. Like Nico's lines. I love Nico's inking lines. He's
Thanks,
just
dude.
that nice, heavy, bold, just there,
Right.
Tell people what you think about their artwork. Interact with them, and they'll interact with you, and that helps and goes a long way
Nice.
Yeah, that's good
when you
stuff.
do your Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Do you do like?
Go ahead, Ken.
I'm sorry. Do you do multiple social media outlets like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Do you do them all
Yeah.
at the same time?
Yeah, my Facebook and Instagram are linked up, and then I copy and paste into Twitter. You have to make some adjustments in Twitter. I'll post on Facebook groups. I now have Blue Sky. I'm going to be posting on there. I tried TikTok, but TikTok's garbage. I mean, it's entertaining for certain things. Like I love watching dog videos and some drawing videos and stuff, but
Right.
TikTok is not really conducive for trying to pitch people who you are and stuff like that.
Right.
YouTube, what you're doing right here, this is immense. Keep posting your stuff, show your stuff. Just keep plugging away at it and get started now. And if you can make your pre-launch page as soon as possible, do that too.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
good. Yeah, and
Like
I think
even now, like several months out.
Just start it now. You don't have to. You can just post about it once a month, and as you get closer, start upping it. You can change your banners. Make sure you have a banner that shows your artwork appropriately for your Kickstarter. And oh God, there was something that was just on my mind. Now I just lost it. Oh my God, there was something really important too. Dang it!
No,
Sorry.
come back.
I know.
Come back, thought.
I'm sorry. It was really important too.
Hopefully, we just
Maybe
keep
it'll-
talking, and then
Yeah.
you'll be reminded.
Yeah, Brandon, I think like the communication thing was big during your Kickstarter. Like I loved being able, because you would send, I think, weekly emails, kind of updating everybody, put a little bit of process in there, and kind of like I was talking about earlier when you had like your your future plan kind of going. Like it felt like you were building like your own kind of universe type of thing. And like I said, like it almost felt like this hub, aka like your publishing house that you're kind of you're sticking up your post in terms of like your post for the rest of all your comics and everything. So like do you kind of feel that like this is like your like your indie publishing center is going to be like derived through this Kickstarter? So jump on, it'll kind of grow and grow and grow, because you said you have like a 5-year plan going, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I do have a 5-year plan. I plan on doing everything on Kickstarter right now. Things could change. Got to remain fluid. Be like water. You hit a rock, go right around it. Live your life like that, and you'll do just fine. Yeah, I got a 5-year plan, and that might change to a 10-year plan. Who knows?
There we go. That's awesome, dude. All right, I was hoping that thought will strum up, but it didn't come back. It's all good.
I'll text you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. This has been a great discussion with Brandon. Brandon has given us a crash course in kickstarting. We loved that. We got some good information out of it. I'm sure those of you watching out there who are looking into doing Kickstarter and everything will definitely get some valuable information out of this. You got it. Brandon, go.
I got it. When you're
Awesome.
communicating via your updates, be personable. Stay away from the hard sell. Don't be like, we need to hit this mark. Be personable. I did one update about I need to hit this mark, and I got a bad response to it. Be personal. Share personal stories. Tell people why you're doing this. They're here to support your art. They'll help other people come and find you too. Tell them about yourself and why you're doing this and why this is important to you, and maybe any other future plans you might have. Be honest, be open, and stay away from the hard sell.
Yeah, I like that
Awesome.
because, I'm sure we all see it, those guys that are just like driving it home and inboxing you and, say, hey, we got $500 more to go. Like, hurry up and back it now. It's kind of like, sometimes those things are a deterrent, like maybe you were looking towards it.
Can be.
Now that this guy is like ragging on you to do it, it could be a deterrent and, psychological kind of thing going there. So
Actually,
people will sense if you're genuine.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to ask, like, is social media followers a huge indicator of how well your Kickstarter will do, or did you find that there was a lot of people that you didn't even interact with on social media that backed your campaign?
More than I expected. Found me on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So like you weren't trying to gather a lot of followers leading up to the campaign?
No, it's not really my thing. I try to follow back when I can if I remember to hit that button. But I think a lot of people are interested and everybody has something to offer me. So like I like seeing art, and so I do follow back for that reason, not to get people to follow me to back my Kickstarter. I like seeing art. But yeah, most of the people, a lot of the people were people I knew. A lot of the people were mutuals on social media, but there was quite a lot. 35% were people I did not know.
That's cool.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm anxious to kind of see about is the community that's already built inside of Kickstarter that are just going on Kickstarter looking for cool things and just want to back it just from the sheer campaign page.
Yep. Those are the super backers.
Yeah. So that's definitely another thing that I look forward to kind of experiencing firsthand.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. I think that's it. I think we did it. I think we did. We're probably going to come up with some more stuff here on the spot, but that was some awesome information, Brandon.
Yeah.
Ken, go ahead and tell the good people out there where they can find you. Where can they follow your stuff?
Everyone can find me at thecomicsgrind on Twitter and at comicsgrind on Instagram. I'm pretty much active every day on Twitter, and you can find my comic Air Rider, High School Hero, on Global Comics currently, and all those links will be in the description, and you can find it there.
Awesome. Brandon, how about you, man? Where can they follow your stuff? Where can they sign up for Autolyse?
You can get at Kickstarter. It's called Autolyse, AUTOLYSE. It's a German bacon term. That's my next book. You can find it under my name at Kickstarter and hit that button for pre-launch, to be notified on launch in October. Also, you can find me at CANNONBALLcomic.com. That's where I have some episodes and some 1-pagers and 2-pagers and 4-page comics that you can peruse. There's about 29 episodes or something like that. And you can find me at BDePillis on Twitter or BDePillis on Instagram, or Cannonball Presents on Instagram. Also, I have 2 accounts on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where you can find me, or Blue Sky too. BDePillis too.
Blue Sky, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys, and you can find me at Nico_Writes on Instagram and on Twitter. You can also follow my Substack at nicorodriguez.substack.com. You can find me and Ken at Eastern RimCon, August 19th and 20th in Baytown, Texas. We're gonna be posted up there. We're gonna be sketching and selling our books and stuff. So come and check us out. It's gonna be fun. It's coming up real soon. So, but anyway, Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and we will see you next time.
Peace.